¿Sería posible decir que el área de biosimilares será el segmento o sería el segmento más dinámico y que conduzca el crecimiento de la empresa en México más que de marcas de patente, más que established brands?
So I think there's a couple of opportunities for us to grow in Mexico. Overall, I think that the established brands are growing now as we repatriated the business back from our old partner, and now we have it in our hands. I think that women's health, Implanon, will be an opportunity to go forward. And I think the biosimilars are going to, as you say, going to be a dynamic business going forward to provide us opportunities to continue to grow. But what I will say is that some of the initiatives that we've done, like yesterday, we signed a memorandum of understanding with both three parties, CONAPO as well as the UNFPA and Organon, to try a kind of an experimentation or sorts, a partnership in Xochimilco to try to reduce the amount of teen pregnancies in Xochimilco as a blueprint, as a program. We think that that potentially could also provide growth for us, because one thing is for the Mexican government, for example, to reimburse Implanon. The second thing, though, is for it actually to be used. Just because something is available doesn't necessarily mean that the patients that require it are getting it. And so what we need to do is we need to increase education in the environment, in these communities like Xochimilco and other communities that kind of surround Mexico City. We need to increase the education, we need to increase awareness to reduce teen pregnancies, for example, or to provide this as a potential option to women who want long-term protection against unintended pregnancies. We need to be able to increase the awareness, to increase education, so that people take advantage of what's already made available, but they're just not taking advantage of it. So that connection between reimbursement and people actually having access to that asset is something we need to bridge that connection. Because let me tell you, during the pandemic, there was an increase in 30% in unintended pregnancies or teen pregnancies in Mexico. What that means is there's 300,000 teen pregnancies in Mexico per year. And what's even more troubling, that there's about 7,500 of that 300,000 are people are actually teens less than 15 years of age. And the problem with that is that the WHO has already kind of had studies, most recently published recently in 2019, that showed that the number one reason for mortality or death of teenagers is pregnancy and the complications from pregnancy. So put death aside for a moment and just talk about complications. When a child less than the age of 15 actually gets pregnant and has to deliver a baby of her own, things like postpartum hemorrhage we talked about earlier, endometriosis, all types of complications that come as a result because the uterus is not fully formed at that stage of a young child. We need to try to do our best to help the government, to help the patients avoid those complications. And solutions like Implanon, which gives a patient 3 years of protection without worrying, is something that hopefully will address these 300,000 a year of teenage pregnancies that really don't need to happen in Mexico. And so that ultimately you give a female an opportunity to provide the best opportunities for her growth, both in terms of her own choices for being a productive member of society and the economy, but also for the opportunities to not actually have the physical devastation that those things provide, those things happen to.